Bringing it to you here, show number 200. 200. Hard to believe at times that I would have enough content to actually put 200 shows together, but you know what? Considering the fact that there's going to be over 40 million kids, yes, 40 million, entering the middle school years over the next decade, each with their own story, it doesn't become that hard to believe. Saw a great friend this morning. I was doing my back to school kind of preview shopping over at Staples, and she shared with me, now the mom of 2 teenage boys, she said, it's a whole different beast altogether when they hit the teen years. And then went on to share that she had recently just taken the older son's cell phone and with the rolling pin, this reminds me of an earlier show, attempted to smash it, only to find out that she wasn't going to be able to smash it, so took it with her hands, broke it into several pieces, and then went on to share that, you know what, for the first time in probably a year, heard both sons actually communicating in a way other than through the text message. They were laughing, they were having a great time, so it made her feel better about the fact that she had, hammered the cell phone down. Just one of the incredible stories, though, that I think have come my way over the past 200 episodes. I'm also recalling a young man that I met just this past spring when I was speaking in Atlanta, who had started his own business a couple years back, but essentially creating a business that was going to benefit homeless pets. So, of course, I'm talking about Wolf 'em Down Dog Biscuits and Zach, now age 14, of Alpharetta, Georgia. You can, of course, find his site online, but the story, I think, really lends itself to the idea of how important confidence is during the middle school years. He has built a business that, of course, has led to incredible recognition from even at the highest level, the presidency of the United States, winning the middle school level for the state of Georgia Outstanding Volunteer Award. So what is that going to do to somebody's confidence, particularly during the middle school years when kids are really starting to define themselves? And then the opposite end of the spectrum, when I think about over the past years of teaching and coaching, one guy comes to mind, and sadly enough, during the middle school years had become involved with drugs and alcohol, which led to him finding a peer group. It wasn't necessarily a positive place for him to be at the time, and then ended up finding himself right in the middle of a court case, a murder and kidnapping trial. So 2 completely different ends of the spectrum, but yet really, in my opinion, centered around the central idea of confidence. And then leading into connection, the 2 of the 3 C's. That connection that you have with your kids that seems strained at times, but yet when you come together, whether it's to sit down and enjoy a movie or a dinner or the weekly check-in, which is a huge strategy that I advocate that now many parents have brought into their family. Whether it's that or whether it's the times where you just feel completely separate, that you continue to try and build that connection, letting your child know you're there when they're ready to talk with you. So the weekly check-in, the impromptu conversation, and then building the connection, building the team of folks that is there to support your child when either he or she doesn't want to talk with you or when you're simply not around. So the teachers, coaches, and mentors. A wonderful example of that, a young man that I met along the way who has the coach outside of the school day, who has a wonderful team of teachers, who now the parent is able to connect with and communicate with on a weekly basis, just to find out what's happening at school, what's happening in the after-school hours, an invaluable source of support for mom and dad as their son begins to develop. Now, moving on, of course, to the 3rd and final C, challenge. Kids today with so many opportunities, parents are feeling like, hey, let's give our kids the opportunities we never had, which is a wonderful thing. I'm always encouraging folks, focus on the balance. And balance doesn't always mean that, they're spending 2 hours in after-school activities and they're spending 2 hours on homework. The balance, I think, is long-term and it's bigger picture. It's when you think back on the year. Did they have a little bit of the academic focus? Did they have a little bit of the extracurricular? Did we get to spend some time with the family, right? And it might weigh heavy on one end or the other throughout points of the year, but as a whole, when you look back, the families that I get to talk to most often are the ones that are sort of out of balance. They feel like everything is heavily skewed on one end. Too much time in the academics. Their child is spending 6 hours a night. Just an incredible number of hours on homework. Or they're always on the go, always on the go, always on the go with the extracurriculars, spending their family vacations, very common. Traveling to different sports activities or the extracurricular interest. Out of balance. How do we bring that back into play? Of course, with the vision, which is simply the answer to the question, how do you want to be? How do you want to be? If you can answer that question for yourself, for your family, you are well on the way to an incredible year. An incredible year. So just managing that challenge. And there's kids on all ends of the spectrum with this. There's the underwhelmed, right? The opposite of overwhelmed. Kids who just don't want to engage in anything for whatever reason. So finding wonderful opportunities for them, mentorships, working with younger kids where they can really step up and feel recognized for their contributions. And then the overwhelmed. So how do we pare that down so they feel like they're getting what they need, they can meet the expectations that everyone is hoping they're going to meet, and still continue to rise in confidence. And so that brings us all the way back around to confidence, the first of the 3 C's. So really, as I think back over the course of 200 episodes, what have I learned? That there's an incredible amount of change happening, and that parents are the primary instigators of that change. Sure, kids are going to grow and develop emotionally and physically on their own, but with your guidance, with your coaching, that development is definitely going to be headed in a positive direction. Without it, there's enough examples that I don't even need to talk about that can show kids moving in a completely negative direction. So we're not even going to go there. We're going to keep the focus on the positive, keep us moving forward. As a young man said to me the other day on the phone, I said, how are you going to continue to realize the vision that you have for yourself? And this is at 13 years of age. And he said, I need to keep moving forward. And that's what we're going to continue to do. So with that, I say to you, over the next couple of weeks, the show is going to continue to move forward. I look forward to bringing you more guests. I've had the privilege, the honor of having Jason Womack, a colleague and a great friend, share some of his productivity tips for families that are busy, busy, busy. And more recently, Justin Carter, now a doctor of psychology, sharing his perspective. So I hope to continue to bring that to the show. And hey, as we're moving into August, of course, the back to school focus. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be unveiling something that I think pretty much sums up. It's a cumulative effort of a lot of different folks really focused in on launching you into a brand new school year, complete with a set of supplies that's not going to kill your budget, still leave you with a little bit of room to do some fun shopping, if you will. But going to give you the essential kit. So look for that in the coming weeks. I'll talk about it a little bit more. I wanted to share something very special with you, though, on the 200th episode. Just a little bit of a recap to see where we've come from. Thank you for staying with me. I appreciate the comments that you've shared, the interest that you've had in the show, and the questions that you've continued to bring. That's what really drives it. That's what really makes it meaningful, when we have content that's coming from folks that really want it the most. So have an enjoyable end to your Thursday, an incredible weekend to follow. Of course, I'll be back here tomorrow on the Friday Big Show. Take care.